You are driving home. You have had a perfectly nice day. You saw friends. You did your work. Nothing bad happened. But the moment you turn onto your street, you reach for the volume dial and turn the music all the way down. You need the car to be silent just to park. Or maybe it is the garage pause. You pull into your driveway, turn off the engine, and then you just sit there. No phone, no music. Just staring at the garage wall for 10 minutes before you can summon the energy to open the door and walk into your own house? If someone saw you, they might think you are depressed. They might think you are dreading seeing your family. But that is not it. You love your family. You love your life. So why does it feel like your brain is physically vibrating? Why does the sound of someone asking, "What's for dinner?" feel like a physical blow to the chest? For years, society has called this antisocial behavior. They told you that you are withdrawing. They told you that healthy people seek connection, and that wanting to hide in a dark room is a symptom of sadness. They were wrong. You are not broken. You are not depressed. And you are definitely not antisocial. You are suffering from a biological state called cortical arousal overload. Here is the truth that psychology is finally catching up to. Your brain is not wired to seek stimulation. Your brain is wired to manage a flood. While the rest of the world is trying to turn the volume up, your biology is screaming for you to find the mute button. And that feeling of relief when plans get canceled? That isn't laziness. That is your nervous system finally getting permission to exhale. Let's look at the hardware inside your skull to understand why. To understand why silence feels like a drug to you, we have to look at a tiny piece of tissue at the base of your brainstem called the Reticular Activating System, or RAS. Think of the RAS as the volume knob for your consciousness. It regulates how much sensory information, noise, light, conversation, movement gets passed from the outside world into your analytical brain. For about 50% of the population, this volume knob is naturally set to low. These are the extroverts. Their baseline brain activity is quieter. Because their internal world is naturally understimulated, they feel a biological hunger for external noise. They need the loud music, the crowded bar, and the constant chatter just to wake their brains up. To them, silence feels like suffocation because it drops their arousal levels below the functioning threshold. But your volume knob was manufactured differently. Decades of research, starting with the psychologist Hans Eysenck in the 1960s, have shown that people like you have a naturally high level of cortical arousal. Even when you are sitting in a completely empty room, your brain is crackling with electrical activity. You are already at the optimum level of stimulation just by existing. This is why you are not bored when you are alone. Your internal landscape is already a bustling city. So, what happens when you walk into a networking event or a loud family dinner? You are taking a system that is already running at 90% capacity and flooding it with new data. Every conversation requires you to process tone, body language, meaning, and your own emotional response. Every background noise is a new file your brain has to categorize. For the extrovert, this environment is like putting fuel in the tank. For you, it is like pouring coffee onto a computer motherboard. It is not that you lack the social skills. It is that the cost of processing this data is astronomically higher for you. You are not just hearing people talk. You are absorbing them. You are running a high-resolution simulation of the room in real time. And this brings us to the chemical that rules your life. Dopamine. Society worships dopamine. We are told to chase the dopamine hit. But here is the secret. You are sensitive to dopamine. Too sensitive. When an extrovert gets a hit of dopamine from social validation, they feel energized. When you get that same amount of dopamine, you feel overcaffeinated and anxious. It pushes you over the edge of the bell curve. Instead, your brain craves a different neurotransmitter entirely: acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is the chemical of focus, introspection, and long-term memory. It is the calm to dopamine's chaos. Here is the crucial difference. Dopamine is released when we take risks and seek external rewards. Acetylcholine is released when we turn inward, when we read, when we think deeply, and when we are in safe, quiet environments. When you say, "I need to recharge," what you are really saying is, "I need to switch fuel sources." You have been running your engine on dopamine, a fuel that burns dirty and hot for your specific system, and you are exhausted. You are trying to get home so you can switch back to acetylcholine, the clean energy that powers your specific type of genius. The silence of your room is not empty space. It is an incubator. It is the only place where your brain can stop defending itself against the onslaught of the world and finally start doing what it was designed to do. Process. But what exactly is it processing? And why is your doing nothing actually more productive than most people's doing everything? There is a massive misconception that when you stop talking and sit still, your brain goes into sleep mode. For the neurotypical extrovert, this is somewhat true. When they disengage from the outside world, their brain activity drops. They need external stimuli to keep the engine revving. But for you, the opposite happens. Neuroscientists have discovered a network in the brain called the default mode network. This is a massive web of connections linking the prefrontal cortex to the memory centers and the emotional processing units. Here's the twist. In the brain of someone who prefers solitude, the default mode network is not just a screensaver. It is a supercomputer. When you finally get that moment of silence, when you turn off the car and stare at the wall, you are not shutting down. You are booting up. Think of your brain like an internet browser. Most people walk around with maybe 3 or 4 tabs open. One for conversation, one for walking, one for what they are going to eat for dinner. It is efficient. It is light. They never crash. You, however, walk around with 500 tabs open in the background at all times. Every conversation you have had today is still open in a tab. That weird look your boss gave you is open in a tab. The news article you read this morning is open in a tab. And your brain is actively trying to cross-reference it with a book you read 3 years ago. This is why small talk feels so exhausting. When someone walks up to you and starts chatting about the weather, it is like a pop-up ad appearing on a screen that is already freezing. It takes up your last megabyte of random access memory. You start to lag. You stutter. You look for an exit. Not because you hate the person, but because your system is flashing a low memory warning. Solitude is the only way you can close the tabs. It is the only time your brain can stop taking in new data and start processing the massive archive you have already collected. This is why you are often the person who comes up with a solution to a problem 3 hours after the meeting is over. This is why you have your best ideas in the shower, or while driving alone on a highway at night. When the external noise stops, your internal processing power skyrockets. You are synthesizing information. You are connecting patterns that the loud people missed because they were too busy talking to notice. This is not a defect. It is an evolutionary trade-off. Nature created the social butterfly to maintain the tribe's cohesion, but nature created you, the silent observer, to warn the tribe of danger, to invent the tools, and to chart the path forward. You cannot do that work if you are constantly forced to broadcast. You can only do it if you are allowed to receive. So that urge to be alone? That is not you hiding from the world. That is you preparing to contribute something of value to it. You are not retreating. You are compiling. So, here is the new operating manual for your brain. Stop apologizing for your need to disconnect. When you feel that physical buzzing in your chest, when the voices around you start to sound like distorted radio, static, do not force yourself to push through. That is the old way. That is how you burn out the motherboard. Instead, recognize the signal for what it is. It is your brain asking for a system reboot. You need to build what psychologists call restorative niches into your day. If you are going to a party, give yourself permission to step outside for 10 minutes every hour. Not to smoke, not to make a call, but to just stand in the quiet. You are clearing the cache so you can go back inside and actually be present. If you live with family, establish a transition zone rule. When you come home from work, you get 15 minutes of absolute silence before the demands of the house begin. This isn't selfish. Think about it. Who is better for your family? The version of you that is fried, irritable, and mentally checking out, or the version of you that has taken 15 minutes to close the tabs, switch fuel sources, and can now offer your full, undivided attention? The people who love you do not want your exhaustion. They want you. And if the price of getting you back is a little bit of silence, that is a bargain they should be willing to make. You are not cold. You are not distant. You are simply a high-resolution receiver in a noisy world. Protect your receiver. Respect your bandwidth. And remember, the silence is not where you hide. It is where you recharge the power you need to shine. You are not a broken social machine. You are a master architect who just needs a quiet room to work. I'm from Mindwise Method. Take that moment of silence today. You've earned it.